Welcome back to Prod School. Today, we're breaking down a strategy question that sounds like a consumer product question on the surface, but the real test is whether you understand the business underneath it. The prompt is this: local businesses are shifting discovery budget toward Instagram and TikTok, and Google Maps wants some of that spend back. Most candidates hear that and immediately start redesigning a prettier discovery feed, but that's not actually the hard part. The hard part is understanding why budget moved in the first place, what advertisers are really buying on those platforms, and what maps can offer that those platforms fundamentally can't. So before you hear the answer, think about how you'd start. What's the first thing you'd want to understand before you design anything?
Local businesses are increasingly spending discovery budgets on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Redesign the Google Maps discovery experience to win back some of that advertiser spend. How would you approach it?
I'd start from the core problem, which is that local businesses are moving spend toward Instagram and TikTok because those platforms are better at helping users discover new places through visual content. Maps is still mainly treated as a navigation utility, not a discovery platform. So to me, the goal is to redesign Maps so that when users open it without a specific destination in mind, it becomes a place where they genuinely explore nearby options instead of just confirming a place they already chose somewhere else. I'd begin with the user need in a discovery moment. If I'm deciding where to eat or what to do on a weekend, I usually don't want a list of ratings and text reviews first. I want to get a feel for the place. I want to see the atmosphere, the food, the energy, whether it feels casual or date night or family friendly. A short video can do that much more effectively than a star rating and a few photos. So the redesign I'd build is a Discover Nearby feed on the Maps home screen. If a user opens Maps without typing in a destination, instead of defaulting straight into the standard utility experience, we'd surface a browsable feed of short-form videos and photos from local businesses nearby. Businesses could upload short clips directly through their business profile. They could show a food special, a quick walkthrough of the restaurant, live music that night, or the vibe of the space. And the feed would be ranked on a mix of proximity, relevance to the user's past behavior, and recency. Then, on the advertiser side, I'd create a promoted placement inside that feed. I'd call it something like spotlight listings. The idea is that a business could pay to appear more prominently in the discovery experience for users within a selected radius. And I'd keep the tooling lightweight, so a small business could manage budget, creative, and targeting directly from business profile, similar to the way social platforms let small businesses boost posts without going through a more complex ad stack. In terms of success metrics, I'd track weekly discovery session volume, meaning how many people open Maps without a destination and engage with this feed. Then I'd look at advertiser spend on spotlight listings, click-through rate from the feed into the business profile, and navigation starts that come from that feed. The biggest risk is content supply. If the feed doesn't have enough high-quality business content, users won't browse it and advertisers won't see value in paying for placement there. So to mitigate that, I'd seed the experience with existing photo and video content already on business profiles, and I'd run an early adopter program where businesses get free promotional placement for the first 60 days if they upload content. I'd pilot this in a few dense urban markets where content is already rich, maybe New York, Los Angeles, and London, then compare engagement and advertiser spend lift over a 90-day period before scaling. Longer term, I'd want Maps to become not just the place you go once you've chosen a destination, but a platform where people discover local businesses in the first place, which gives advertisers a reason to invest budget there instead of spending all of it on Instagram and TikTok.
On the surface, that sounds organized. There's a user need, a product surface, an ad unit, some metrics, and even a pilot plan. And that's exactly why answers like this can be dangerous in interviews. They feel good while you're saying them, but this answer still tops out around a 2.5 out of 5 because the diagnosis is off from the start. The first problem is that it frames the whole issue as a content format problem. Users want inspiration. Video is more engaging. Maps should build a feed. That sounds reasonable, but it skips the harder business question. What are advertisers actually buying on Instagram and TikTok that they cannot buy on Maps today? The second problem is the competitive logic. Maps should close the format gap is not moat reasoning. That is parity thinking. Instagram already has the creator ecosystem, the social graph, the audience behavior, and the engagement loops. If your answer is basically Maps should become more like Instagram, you are competing on Instagram's terms in a market Instagram already owns. Third, the trade-offs never get fully surfaced. The answer mentions a cold start problem, but treats it like a logistics issue. Seed with existing content, give free placements, pilot in dense markets. What never gets said clearly is that this strategy asks Maps to enter a content competition where it does not control the supply-side incentives, and where success could take years, even with strong execution. So the answer is not foolish, it's structured, it's plausible, but under pressure it turns out to be thin. It starts from user inspiration before diagnosing the advertiser problem. It proposes a new ad surface without grounding it in Google's existing monetization stack, and it never names a structural reason a rational advertiser would move durable budget back. If you want the full companion breakdown for this episode, including the walkthrough video and the PDF scorecard, check the links below in the description.
Local businesses are increasingly spending discovery budgets on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Redesign the Google Maps discovery experience to win back some of that advertiser spend. How would you approach it?
Before I jump into product ideas, I want to diagnose what's actually happening with the budget shift, because I think there are really two separate failures here, and if I collapse them into one, I'll probably build the wrong thing. The first is a user-side failure. Maps has always been strongest in confirmation and navigation. I already know the place, or at least have a target in mind. I search, check that it's open, glance at reviews, maybe look at a few photos, and then navigate. But the inspiration state is different. That's the moment where I don't know where I want to go yet. I'm open to influence. I want ideas. And historically, that state has belonged more to social platforms than to Maps. The second failure is an advertiser product failure. Even if Maps had more inspiration traffic, the local ad products are still largely built around search-triggered or lower funnel intent. They're good at capturing demand that already exists. They're much less well-designed for helping a restaurant or local retailer influence an undecided user in a discovery session, and then measure whether that influence actually drove a visit. I don't think that's the right starting point, because it puts Maps into a head-on content platform competition that it's not structurally set up to win in the near term. Because Instagram's advantage is not just that it has video, it has a creator ecosystem, a social graph, self-reinforcing distribution, engagement loops, and years of creator habit and identity built on top of it. If Maps tries to win by persuading creators or even local businesses to treat it like another publishing platform, we're asking them to invest in content for a place where their audience is not natively gathering, where follower mechanics are weak or non-existent, and where the social proof system is much less compelling. That's not a normal cold start problem. That's a structural incentive problem. Free promotion might help at the margin, but it does not solve the core issue, which is why would creators split effort into a platform that doesn't yet return audience growth or identity? So the redesign I'd actually build starts from the asset Maps already has, instead of the one Instagram already owns. Maps already has a huge business content base. Businesses are already uploading photos, short videos, updates, and event content through business profiles. On top of that, Maps has billions of reviews that contain contextual language about occasions and atmosphere. So I do not think the first problem is content production. I think the first problem is content rendering and intent matching. It means when a user opens Maps without a destination or search query, especially in high consideration windows like Friday evening, weekend afternoons, or lunch in a dense downtown area, the default experience can shift into an inspiration-oriented discovery layer. Not a social feed, not a Reels clone, a place-centric discovery surface. It would still be grounded in geography and utility, but instead of leading with a raw map and generic pins, It would rank nearby businesses based on occasion fit and context. So instead of just restaurants near you, it becomes more like great for a group dinner tonight, lively but not too loud, good for a casual date, strong dessert menu, short wait times, outdoor seating. The key is that much of this signal already exists in review text and profile content. Maps just hasn't extracted and rendered it in a way that serves the undecided state. So, product-wise, I'd invest in NLP and ranking to pull out signals like vibe, occasion, atmosphere, service pattern, and social context from reviews. Then, combine those with explicit business content and live operating context like current hours, recency, and proximity. That gives the user a discovery experience that still feels native to Maps. It's not entertainment for its own sake. It is decision support for a user who is open but local and close to action. The redesign only matters strategically if it also creates an advertiser product that is meaningfully better than what Meta can offer a local business. So the ad product I'd build is a time-windowed, geo-bounded, occasion-matched placement inside that undecided intent session. For example, a restaurant could promote Thursday to Saturday dinner traffic within 2 kilometers from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. to users whose session behavior suggests they're browsing rather than navigating. But the real point is not the placement. The real point is the attribution chain. Because Maps owns the moment after influence, not just the moment of impression. If a user sees that promoted placement, taps into the profile, starts navigation, and then physically arrives, Maps can connect impression to navigation to store visit in a way that Instagram and TikTok fundamentally cannot close on their own. That's the moat. Instagram can sell attention, Maps can sell attention plus navigational intent plus confirmed or modeled physical visit. For a local advertiser, those are very different products. And I'd want to be precise about it rather than hand-wave it away. Not every user will be attributable through an opt-in measurement pool, but I don't think that breaks the strategy. Google already has an established framework around store visit conversions in ads, so I'd use the same principle here. Provide confirmed measurement where available, then modeled estimates outside that pool, clearly labeled. The key strategic point is that even imperfect visit attribution is still directionally much closer to the business outcome a local advertiser actually cares about than video views, likes, or profile clicks alone. And that changes the budget conversation. Instead of asking a local business owner to believe Maps is cool now, I'm asking them to compare cost per store visit between Maps discovery placements and Meta spent. That's a much more serious economic argument. You're saying do not build. I'm explicitly not trying to build a creator economy as the opening move. I'm not building follower mechanics, creator monetization, or social distribution loops as the core bet. That path would require years of ecosystem building, different product competencies, and a much weaker line from product investment to advertiser revenue recovery. I'm also not trying to turn every Maps session into discovery. The majority of Maps usage is still utility-driven, and I think that core navigation experience has to stay protected. So this discovery layer should only appear in narrowly defined, undecided sessions, where it helps rather than interrupts. And internally, I think there is a real trade-off in how Maps define success. If the organization only optimizes for shortest path to navigation completion, this product will always feel secondary. To make this work, leadership has to accept that a subset of sessions should optimize for commercial discovery quality, not just routing efficiency. That's a meaningful shift in product philosophy, even if it's confined to a minority of sessions.
I'm glad you said that. Let's dig in. If the content is already there in business profiles today, why hasn't Maps already won discovery? What is actually new in your redesign?
The content exists, but the rendering model is still built for confirmation, not inspiration. Today, once I reach a business profile, I see photos, ratings, hours, and reviews in a format that assumes I'm already evaluating a candidate I found some other way. What's new in my redesign is the combination of session detection, occasion-based ranking, and narrative packaging. Session detection means recognizing the user is undecided. Occasion-based ranking means pulling contextual signals out of reviews and business content to answer what kind of place this is for this moment. And narrative packaging means presenting that information as a browsable, local decision experience instead of a generic set of search results. So the content is not new. The user state detection and the intelligence layer on top of that content are what's new.
Good. Now let me push on privacy one more time. You said store visits are the moat, but if privacy constraints tighten over time, do you lose the business case?
I'd say the moat is broader than just one measurement method. The deepest moat is that Maps sits on the path from consideration to navigation to arrival. Even if measurement becomes less deterministic, Maps still owns a higher intent context than a pure feed platform does. In practice, yes, privacy constraints can reduce measurement precision, so I wouldn't promise perfect one-to-one attribution, but I still think Maps can offer better intent quality and stronger conversion proxies than a platform that never participates in the trip itself. Also, even the navigation start itself is valuable. If I compare a platform that can tell me a user watched a video versus one that can tell me a user chose directions to my location, I already have a materially stronger local intent signal before I get to visit modeling.
Let's talk execution. Where would you pilot and what metric would you anchor on?
I'd choose verticals where inspiration and location-based intent are tightly linked. Restaurants, nightlife, and maybe certain categories of local retail, like boutiques or specialty stores. For geography, I'd start in dense urban environments with high business profile completeness and high session volume. But I'd choose pilot markets partly based on merchant readiness too, not just consumer density. The anchor metric for me would be cost per store visit, or where that can't be fully measured, cost per high-confidence navigation start compared against equivalent spend on Meta in the same vertical and market. If Maps can demonstrate, say, a 20 to 30% efficiency advantage on store visit-oriented outcomes in those pilot categories, then the sales pitch becomes much easier. I don't need to convince advertisers that Maps is culturally cooler. I need to show that their dollar drives more actual visits.
Why not use engagement as the top metric first? Discovery sessions, time spent, completion rate on content, those seem like more immediate product metrics.
I'd absolutely track them as health metrics, because if users don't engage, the product doesn't matter. But strategically, I would not anchor the business case on engagement, because that is exactly where we invite an unfavorable comparison with social platforms. If I define success as time spent watching local content, I am quietly choosing to compete on Instagram's scoreboard. I'd rather define success around commercial conversion quality in high-intent discovery contexts, because that's where Maps has a more defensible right to win.
Final question. This still changes the default Maps experience in some sessions. How do you ensure you don't hurt the core utility product users trust?
I'd protect that in 3 ways. First, the trigger has to be narrow. No active route, no recent destination search, specific high consideration windows, probably higher confidence in urban density where discovery is genuinely useful. Second, dismissal has to be instant and durable. If a user does not want the discovery layer, one tap gets them back to the standard home state, and the product learns quickly. Third, I'd evaluate any rollout against navigation harm metrics, not just discovery engagement. Search to route time, route initiation success, user complaints, reversion behavior. If we grow discovery revenue but degrade core trust in Maps, we've damaged the asset that makes the whole strategy possible. So the philosophy is protect navigation as the foundation, layer discovery only where intent is genuinely open, and monetize that layer through a product that closes the loop to real-world visits.
This is what moves the same question into 4.5 territory. The first big difference is problem framing. This answer doesn't treat the budget shift as one fuzzy consumer issue. It explicitly separates a user-side discovery gap from an advertiser product gap. That move alone changes everything that follows. The second difference is competitive reasoning. Instead of trying to copy Instagram's strengths, this answer avoids a creator economy war altogether and builds on what Maps already owns: local intent, business profile content, review data, navigation behavior, and a path to physical visit attribution. Third, the trade-offs are finally visible. The candidate clearly says what they are not doing. They are not building a creator economy first. They are not turning every map session into discovery. They are not pretending there is no privacy or measurement constraint. They are making one explicit bet and defending why it is the right one. And that is what stronger candidates do. They do not just propose features. They show that they understand what game the company should and should not be playing. So the score here is 4.5 out of 5, not because the answer is flashy, but because it is grounded, selective, and strategically coherent under pressure. Now, the delta between these two answers is where the real lesson is. The first answer diagnoses the problem as Maps is losing because it doesn't feel inspiring enough. The second answer diagnoses the problem as Maps has not built the right inspiration surface upstream of a closed-loop local advertiser product. The first answer tries to close a content gap. The second answer builds on a measurement and conversion moat. The first answer treats cold start as a seeding issue. The second answer recognizes that a creator-first approach fails because of incentive structure, not because nobody thought to offer free placements. The first answer's advertiser story is basically, here's another discovery placement. The second answer story is here's a more direct path to store visits, with stronger local intent signals than a social platform can provide on its own. That is why one answer sounds polished but forgettable, and the other sounds like someone who actually understands the business. And that's the bigger lesson from this episode. When a strategy question touches a two-sided market, do not answer it like a pure consumer feature prompt. Hold the user problem and the monetization problem in your head at the same time. Then ask what the platform can uniquely do that the competition cannot easily copy. That's it for this one. If you want the next layer after this, use the companion resources below, and we'll see you in the next episode.